welcome to the D3D4 Football Podcast with me, your host, James Richards. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another D3D4 Football Podcast, the podcast that exclusively looks at Leagues 1 and 2. I am joined by my co-host Ed Walker this week. It's just a tandem as we jump into all the weekend's action. This podcast is partnered with The Big Step, tackling gambling's relationship with football and the amount of advertisement specifically in the game. And they're a great follow and they do some great work there at @_Big Step on Twitter. And thank you as well to our patrons who've made this podcast possible throughout the years. Massive appreciation for you guys. You can join up for as little as $1 or £1 a month. And you can find the link on our Twitter page. And I have to say, it does really make a big difference, you guys giving us that support. So we do appreciate it. Right, Ed, before we jump into football, just catch up with you. How's it going this week? Another defeat for your boys, but everything else in general good with you?
Yeah, everything beside the football's quite good. I feel a bit like Chris at the minute. Where you enjoy the rest of the week, and then the Saturday 3 p.m. comes around, you kind of feel like, yeah, okay, we'll tolerate it for a couple of hours, and then we can just carry on. Yeah,
I get that. I mean, I actually enjoyed yesterday's football. It's surprisingly how much you can enjoy football when your team's not playing.
Yeah, we were coming up, listening to 5 Live, driving down to MK, and we heard there was a League One game off, and the Sun thought, oh, it's not us, is it? But no, it was Wigan Oxford, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think there was a Wigan fan who came over just came across from America to watch this specific match.
That's unfortunate.
Hopefully, though, because there's a Tuesday game, so you might be able to get there. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming over from the US to watch Wigan, that's dedication. It really is. Mm. And let's jump in. So we're going to start, as always, in League One.
League One.
And there was a lot of football to talk about in League One, but I'm starting with Crewe v Gillingham, and depending on who you support out of the two, you're going to be either hating the fact I'm starting with this game or loving it. But I think we first of all give Crewe some credit. They've had a torrid time this season. It's been really bad. But David Artell said he did double sessions on Monday and Tuesday with them, an extra session Thursday. You know, he's really trying to get drum into his team like what to do, what not to do. Come on, let's try and get some points on the board. I think he was aware how big this weekend's match was going to be, and Crewe won 2-0. Against the Gillingham side, who we'll speak about in a moment, seem to be really in deep trouble. Long and Lowry with the goals. Lowry sealing the deal in the 91st minute later on. Good to see him back on the score sheet. Good to see him in this team. I don't think his contractual issues over the summer really helped a team that had already lost such a lot of talent. But Ed, firstly, big 3 points for Crewe because they were getting cut adrift, and although they're still 5 points away from Gillingham, imagine if they hadn't got this win, it would have looked very, very bleak. And it may well still be, but that's huge.
It does make the table look a bit better, doesn't it? I know you say it's still a 5-point gap, but now they look within touching distance of the rest of the bottom four alone, so that does look positive. I'm really, really happy for Crewe to get this win. I'm also quite happy because Crewe's only win prior to this was against Burton. I didn't really want that tag staying on for the rest of the season. So, no, delighted for Crewe. As we'll get on to, though, Gillingham, massive concerns.
What do you think about Crewe's wing-back system that they played yesterday? I mean, and in my mind, I will always, I think, just because of the way the last few seasons went, have Crewe down as a sort of a 4-3-3. This is the way that they play. But they had to adapt. Obviously, I think maybe if you look at the amount of goals that they've conceded, and really soft goals as well, you know, they will be hugely disappointed. But maybe just that the 5 at the back gives them stability. And I think Kashket was playing as the right wing-back, if I'm right.
Potentially. Kashket as a wing-back's quite interesting one. I never would have thought of him there, but it seemed to work quite effectively. There was a lot of praise as well from Zach Williams, who I think is just 17 years old and putting a really star performance at centre-back.
Yeah, 17. Goodness me.
That's what Crewe do, though, isn't it? Get a young lad in who impresses. That's really good to see.
It's great. It's great to see. And this is why it's very hard not to have an endearing quality with Crewe, isn't it, that we all enjoy and like over the years. Adebisi did well, left wing back as well. I think he had a good game. Maggi Gomez, it'd be interesting from Crewe fans who've watched this guy week in, week out, what they've made of him.
I was a really big fan of him when he was at Doncaster. I think it was last season.
He started well.
It didn't feature too much, but I was quite keen on him when I saw him.
A lot of the Doncaster fans said he started well and sort of then didn't finish well and looked really poor for a lot of the second part of his campaign, which is weird. And I thought when Crewe picked him up, it depends which Maggi Gomez they get. But yes, a massive win for David Artell, who I think and I hope will be under no real pressure because it's a really difficult job he's got in his hands this season. But a vital win against a Gillingham side. Ed, Gillingham. I asked a few questions of people on Twitter, what they think, what's going on. I put out, the old gif, the flaming dog in a burning down house where he's saying everything is fine. That's the sense I'm getting from their chairman at the moment.
I agree, yeah.
Let's just sum this up, right? So Gillingham at the moment have a squad that they can barely field a strong 11. They've got injury crisis, which seemed to be dragging on for most of the season. Not helped, of course, like I just said, by the lack of depth. They've got fans really disgruntled with quite a lot of things going on at the club, just in general. And their manager, Steve Evans, has been strongly linked with relegation battling Stevenage in the division below. And they put out a statement firstly saying he's contracted until, I think it was June 21, which they obviously was a typo.
That was awkward.
Yeah, it is awkward. I mean, that's not going to help you in this situation. You don't want to come across as making sort of proofreading errors in such an important statement. But then they said, yeah, look, he's contracted, he's not going anywhere. I'm not akin to believe it, really, because we've seen this with Steve Evans before.
Followed football too much to know that isn't over.
No, I don't think it is over.
I didn't really get to the statement anyway. I don't think they definitively said through that statement that he is staying. They just say he's under contract. I didn't really read it thinking, we're definitely putting our foot down, he's not going anywhere. They just said, we got a contract and our desire is to keep him. That's the sense I got from it.
What do you think Steve Evans is thinking right now? Because we know that he's threatened to walk away before when he didn't get the strike he wanted. And that was all sort of brushed under the carpet a little bit at the time, and it was misunderstanding. But I'm not so sure. I get the sense from Steve Evans that he's a manager that wants to do well, and thinks probably he's unable to do it. I mean, if you look at Gillingham's form, 3 wins all season. I didn't realise it was quite that bad, and they have drawn a lot of games, so it's not like they're being smashed each week. But you do worry for them, don't you?
Hard not to worry for them. I think I remember last midweek after going out the FA Cup to Cheltenham, there was a quote or a little clip from Evans that was used to kind of indicate he felt like he was being really held back by the limits that the club's putting on him in terms of how he can progress the squad.
Yeah, there's more injury worries, I think, yesterday as well. Mackenzie.
It's a really young bench. They put 5-man bench out and it's not experienced at all.
No.
Very little experience on it.
No, and was it Ackhurst went off injured? Mackenzie apparently as well, potentially, so another 2 injuries picked up. I mean, what are you going to do when you're losing these players? Really worry for them. I mean, if you look at that 11 that they put out yesterday, just the guys on the pitch, I don't see it as being strong enough as it stands right now anyway. It's looking bleak, isn't it?
It's not looking good, and when you see the teams below them that are within touching distance and still have games in hand on them, there could be some nervous few months ahead for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of people say, look, big January coming up. I've seen it from Sheffield Wednesday fans. But with Gillingham, they are under the monitored loan agreement. So they're really hamstrung by that as well. Gills fans, get in touch. I feel your pain. I look at this team and I do really worry. And yeah, Ed, you're right about the bench. Dear me. Maybe the home truths. The chairman. I mean, the problem with the chairman for me as well is whenever anyone offers constructive criticism, and to be fair to the Gillingham fans, a lot of it is constructive criticism. I don't think you can tar all with the same brush when you get some ninnies out there that go and be abusive. The trouble is there are football fans at every single club in this country that will be like that. Just dickheads, I suppose, for want of a better word. But generally, Gillingham fans are venting their frustrations, I think, in a constructive way. But he then says in all his chats that he's getting personal abuse and they're not real supporters. And that kind of attitude really doesn't. It's not helpful, is it?
No, it's not helpful one bit. It's just disconnecting yourself further from the fans. It's just creating more problems to yourself.
I'm not a football chairman and I'm not a PR expert, but if I was put in a situation where people are offering constructive criticism, I think I'd engage very much with taking on board what they're saying and either explain why it's not possible for me to do more. There may be very legitimate reasons, financially, probably, why the club can't do more. But I certainly wouldn't try and suggest that people offering criticism aren't real supporters. In fact, I think real supporters are the ones that do speak up because they have genuine concerns and love for their club. So, Gillingham fans, feel for you right now. But a big win for Crewe puts them back in touch with the chasing pack, and or not chasing pack, rather the guys trying to scramble out of trouble, I should say. And well done to David Artell for that. Also down the bottom, a team that you said last week, Ed, that you were quite worried about and you think they need a win, when we had our question spot, I think it was.
Yep.
Was Morecambe.
Mm-hmm.
You don't win games in a better manner than that. This guy, man, what's happened to Cole Stockton since going to Morecambe? It's like he's transformed into like Matt Le Tissier come Alan Shearer combined genetics. I mean, it's
an absolute joke.
It is, isn't it? This is
absolute joke.
This is not like a once in a lifetime thing. He's had a go and it's gone. This is the second time he's done it this season.
It's not just that for me though. Like you say, he has done it before, something like that from a ridiculous distance. But it's the 94th minute. How many players in the 94th minute, when you 1-1 and really need to take every chance you have, just think, I'm just going to hit from the halfway line? He does that. That's incredible.
It was an incredible hit, great vision. People were blaming the keeper. Absolutely not. The keeper is not going to expect that.
The keeper should not be waiting in the 94th minute thinking, yeah, he's not going to chip me to the halfway. Oh, he has. Oh, hello. And I saw the keeper afterwards and he just threw his hands up like, what do you do about that?
Yeah. He executed it absolutely perfectly. And his manager, Stephen Robinson, I thought was good. He said, if you had a left foot, you'd be in the Premier League or something like that. He always jokes about it because he's one-footed. But I tell you what, I think Stephen Robinson alluded to it as well. Like, you don't need to have 2 feet if you can do that with your right foot only. I mean, that was utter. Cole Stockton, take a bow. It's what football at this level is all about. You know, you have players that suddenly just come into their own. And my goodness me, that was absolutely breathtaking. Brilliant performance as well. And in the context of the season for both sides, Fleetwood, we know that Fleetwood are a good side on their day. They've put in some wonderful performances. Actually, quite an exciting team when they play to their strengths and play well. They dominated the possession, and I think Stephen Robinson was very clever with his tactics here because he said we allowed them to have possession, in their own third a lot of the time, and sat deep. We wait for them to come on to us, and then we countered well. And they've got a lot of pace, a lot of skillful players in that Morecambe team that are very adept at doing that. So if you have 34% of the possession, but you actually have more shots than your team, your opponent, I mean, that's a very interesting stat if you ask me, Ed.
Yeah, but we know possession is not really that strong an indication of necessarily who deserves a win. Teams can dominate it. You need to have possession with purpose rather than just possession purely.
Although if you do have the ball a lot, if you use it well, if you have
that's the thing. It's got to be with purpose. If you're just having possession by just playing in your own half, it's not really doing anything.
Indeed, I was very impressed with
the
midfield three of Morecambe in this game. McCallum, Jones, and McLaughlin. I think they were superb. I think they really were excellent. Their energy levels throughout that match deserve commendation for sure. And everyone knows I like Arthur Ganoa. Or Naho. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. I should really get that right. But he's a player. King Arthur, I call him. Is a player I've admired for a long time. Really wanted him to make it at Shrewsbury, but I think he went there maybe at the wrong time during that 17-18 season when it was hard for him, I think, to get a look in. But he's an excellent player. Showed in glimpses at Bolton what he could do. You've got Ayunga on the other flank and Cole Stockton in the middle. I mean, for a team like this to have those options, it's given them a great opportunity to stay up and avoid the drop, which would be a massive achievement. Pilkington was sent off in this one. What do you make of that red card, Ed?
Well, it was a silly one, wasn't it? Didn't he get double dissented added time? Was that what it was?
He was sent off in the 79th minute, I think.
I've got down 96th there. 2 yellow cards.
Quite possibly.
That winner. After Stockton's goal, is what I understand.
Interesting. Maybe I'm looking at the BBC website here, so could be.
And I don't think they'd even kicked off again afterwards, which makes it really silly.
Not what you need.
Something in open play. No, not at all.
Not what you need. Not what you need at all. For Fleetwood, any concerns for them? I mean, obviously, it's not been a great season. They're sat in the relegation places, played 16 games of 14 points. We didn't, though, have much hope for them in the pre-season, if I remember rightly. and it's kind of playing out that way a little bit, just lack of experience and strength in depth.
They feel a little bit like Morecambe, where they give you as much as they can take, but the difference is Morecambe are getting the positive results more.
Well, Morecambe
a little bit
Stockton.
About Fleetwood, certainly. Yeah,
absolutely. Danny Andrew, though, I will give him credit. That was a great delivery for the goal.
That's what you expect from Andrew, really. He's fantastic from set pieces.
He's been brilliant, hasn't he? He's been a real shining light on a pretty tough season so far for Fleetwood. Talking of tough seasons, well, it started that way for Charlton, but it can't really be seen in that light any longer. Why is Johnny Jackson not yet named manager until the end of the season, at least?
I've got a theory about this. Because we see this a lot, where like caretakers come in, they explode into this fantastic patch of form, and then they go permanent and it kind of drops off.
Yeah.
I reckon the moment they hire him permanently, they're going to lose. I think they keep him interim for as long as they can and see how long it goes, because I've just got that little feeling about it. It might not be true, but this is the Charlton team we expected them to be.
I wonder whether you just give a manager a rolling day-to-day contract for his entire career, and
a bit like an emergency loan. You keep extending it every 7 days, like they do your goalkeepers. Just keep running that every week.
Psychology. Yeah, exactly. But Charlton, since he's been at the club in the league, they've won 4 of their 5 games unbeaten, and they have played Sunderland, and they've played Rotherham, and now Plymouth. So 3 of those 5
Plymouth's
fixtures.
First defeat since the opening day as well.
It is.
Says a lot.
3,000 Argyle fans at the Valley yesterday, and Charlton pooped their parade slightly, but I have to say I've been very, very impressed with Johnny Jackson. I did think that when I was talking about this with a Charlton fan, like, if you give him the job, will they lose? I mean, in a tangible way, though, do you think he does deserve now after this 5 games?
He absolutely deserves it.
Yeah,
absolutely does.
It's
can't be a doubt for me. He bleeds that club. Everything that club's about is reflected in him, and I don't see why he wouldn't take the opportunity to use it.
And it's a worrying indictment on Nigel Adkins slightly, isn't it? That it's just changed so quickly after he left. I mean, a great positive guy, no doubt about that. But maybe do you think his philosophies in football just weren't suited to that team, or are they slightly antiquated?
Well, it's a bit of a different setup Jackson's using, isn't it? A bit more 3-1-4-2. I've got down here something a bit more unusual, maybe a bit more attack-minded, not purely relying on Stockley as that outlet.
No, they've just got Purrington as a goal-scoring.
Yeah, don't know where that's come from, but that form's fantastic as well.
Yeah, it's great to have. And a great result for Charlton. Plymouth, of course, lick your wounds, get back on the horse, because they've been great this season. I don't honestly think that this one result really changes anything about my view of them. But it's a defeat, and it's one that they'll be disappointed with. But Ryan Lowe's been like very, very, I think, measured during their good run, and I'm fully backing them to get back involved and get back on the horse again. Sunderland beat Ipswich, Ed. Not a classic performance, to be honest. A lot of their fans on Twitter sort of not particularly pleased with just the way they played necessarily, but they needed this result big time, and to grind out a result, I think is very, very important to stop that rot. Does this change things now?
Oh, I don't think you could say after one game. Give it another 2 or 3 and we might stay for sure. But it is a very good result. I think that's a very good win. It
is. It's an excellent win against an Ipswich side who have been actually in quite good form. The Ipswich at the start of the season are well gone now. This is a much better Ipswich side who would have fancied this, to be honest. Luke O'Nien playing left back. He's played everywhere, hasn't he?
Yeah, I did. His goal was weird as well, if I remember it. The delivery in, and Christian Walton just completely misses it, and O'Nien, it almost kind of bounces off him rather than actually getting any meaningful contact on it. Just kind of bounces off and just ends up going in the net. Very strange goal.
Bailey right back in the lineup. I think Sturkin is out until New Year, which is not that long away, but it's something that they'll have to deal with. And they had Evans and the real deal Dan Neil in the midfield. Embleton being back is great as well, I think. I would say that he offers them more than perhaps people give him credit for. Elliot Embleton.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, 2-footed technical player, someone that they can really play off. And Ross Stewart as well held the ball up well yesterday. Hoffman's making some good saves. Just generally speaking, the people that needed to step up and do their job on the day managed it. Doyle back in a bit of better form as well. He spent some time away with the England under-21 setup, I think, and I think that might have done a bit of good just to sort of get himself back into a different mindset, because it can be quite wearing, I think, if you're in a team and playing under pressure each week to do well and you're on a bad run. So that's a good result. Where do you see Ipswich, Ed, in your mind now? Because we pre-season we were waxing lyrical about the squad. Where are you with them at the moment? Because it's been overall an underwhelming campaign, but there have been some positive signs of late.
I still think they might end up in the playoff spots. I don't know if automatic is probably too far a stretch to them now because of the inconsistencies, but it took a long, long time to get that team going. And to be honest, when you saw the amount of people who come in, it was going to take a long time. They have been capable of taking some teams apart of the season, but also in turn, they've suffered defeats against what you'd also consider to be other stronger sides. So, I don't know. They don't want to be 10th at the minute. I hope that Paul Cook-Seki doesn't finish 10th because there'll be questions coming his way. I still think they can push into those playoff spots, but they've got to do it quick because that gap is getting bigger.
It is indeed. On a one-game losing streak. There you go. In the league. I don't know why that is. That's become a thing now, but there we go. Right, other results of the day. MK Dons beat Burton, Ed, 1-0 at a game you attended. Comfy seats at the Stadium MK?
Yeah, different to others.
Padded, I seem to remember.
Yeah, padded. That's a bit different to them, certainly. Yeah, I haven't been at Stadium MK for 6 years. Just a standard MK win. You know, Burton in the last 4 games have had 4 league defeats. They come against sides I consider stronger than Burton, but they barely laid a glove on any of them. So it's not great. And if they don't get anything from these next 2 against Accrington and Doncaster, it's going to be really bad. But I can't complain with MK. If you give Max Waters the opportunities, eventually he's going to take one. And that's what he did.
Well, according to stats, though, you have more possession than them. That's a first for a while, isn't it?
Yeah, that's because we were trying to, well, I say trying to score. What was happening was we were in their half, just passing it between each other, and no one wanted to put a cross in. You know, I think there was 1 penalty box player on the pitch.
You didn't have a shot on target?
No. No shot on target. It's not the first time that's happened either.
It's games like that make you realise how long an hour and a half is.
Shots more than goals, to be honest.
Oh, goodness me.
It wasn't good.
And I'll just clarify from last week. I saw a couple of comments about our comments on MK Dons last week. I don't think any of us were referring to MK Dons as being like a 2-man team with Waters and Twine. My point I think I was trying to make was with the striking depth that they've got, and they have some great strikers, you know, great goal scorers in likes of Waters, Twine, Issa, Parrott. I would just like to see them create better scoring chances for them. And I think if they do that, they will be a very, very difficult side to stop. That's all I was making. I think, you know, they're definitely not just a 2-man team. We know that. They've got quality everywhere. Matt O'Reilly is probably one of my favourite players in this division. I've been so impressed with him since he joined. Harry Darling, I know he wasn't playing yesterday, but he's another player I'm a massive fan of. I think O'Hara's done excellent since joining. Lewington, we know, just like he must be on 1 million performances in
I'm still a massive Peter Kyoso fan.
Yes, yeah, I mean, again...
He dominate a right-hand side, he can. I think he's terrific.
He was a player that a lot of people took a look at when he was at Hartlepool, and I think, was it Luton who took the chance on him?
Luton took the chance. I don't know if he's even played for Luton yet. I think he's had a handful of games, and I'm still quite surprised he keeps getting loaned out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it depends what they think he can do at championship level, but if this is aiding his development, then do it. Yeah, get him out there. But again, MK Dons, all-round very good team, and a 1-0 win yesterday. Max Waters getting the goal. Rotherham beat Cambridge 3-1. Rotherham up into the automatic promotion places. Really no surprises, because they are one of, if not the best team at this level. They play a way that suits them. They've got strength in depth across the pitch. They've got guys who score goals. They defend well. Set pieces, they are ridiculous at set pieces. I think their XG from set pieces, their set pieces from XG was something like 11, and they scored 11, which is ridiculous. I'm not sure it's been updated this week. I'll try and have a look. But Ed, your take on this 3-1 win for them?
In a word, standard. Can we
Yeah.
use that? It's just I feel like Rotherham. I actually think they might be the best team in the league in terms of their overall game. They're just the perfect unit at the moment.
That's a good word to describe them, isn't it? They're a unit. They know what their job is. They
Absolutely.
know what they're about. And it's just ridiculous.
And we should just say, because Ian Bradley's probably listening, you're not getting a quiet season.
No.
You're not getting it. You were hoping for it pre-season. You're not getting it again. You're on a promotion charge again.
Yeah, and set piece XG 12, set piece goals 12.
There you go.
Utterly ridiculous. This is an interesting one. Just referring back to Fleetwood. Set piece XG 5.6, set piece goals 12. That's ridiculous.
Wow.
They must be playing some.
That's
teams.
Danny Andrew, 3 kicks for you.
Yeah, but I would have thought his. Yeah, yes, probably right. Yeah, Danny Andrew free kicks. That kind of explains it. But 12 goals from set pieces for Fleetwood. Interesting stat. Right. Well, Wycombe have won the league apparently. Fireworks.
Oh dear.
I get it. Their fans don't like this. If you're not aware, they beat Bolton 1-0 yesterday, and they put out tweets celebrating with a fireworks display. And it's I suppose it's November, so it's kind of fitting in that respect. But in terms of everything else, I mean, a lot of the fans don't like it. They think it's a little bit cheesy. I suppose is one way of putting it. Doesn't
There's a number of ways of putting it.
Doesn't look good. But nevertheless, Wycombe got a win. Bolton still not 100% convinced defensively by Bolton, but again, good win. Portsmouth left it late to beat AFC Wimbledon by 2-1. Was it your boy who scored the winner, Ed?
Yep, standard stuff from him as well. It's good to see that he's being utilised in this kind of central position as well, because he's always been good out wide, but he seems to have found a home as kind of like an attacking midfielder, and his strikes on the edge of the box are a real threat at the moment. Yeah,
and Portsmouth are another one of those teams now on a very good run of form. I think it's 5 without loss, 3 wins in that run, and they again moving themselves back up into that playoff contention. Really good to see. Still slightly concerned about overall, like, are they going to do well enough against the best in this division? We'll see, but can't deny that run of form has helped them and pushed them further forward, because it had been tricky.
Are you worried about Wimbledon?
A little bit, yeah, I have to be honest. That positive start that they had, they're not quite at it, are they? They're not quite. They were very gung ho. I think we admired that. But
yeah, we did.
I think sometimes
it has dropped off.
Well, I think your confidence drains if you gung ho's fine and works when you believe in yourself, but if you lose a little bit of that belief and you go on a poor run, it can do that. So. And they're sitting, like you say, they're at the moment they've got 17 points, so only 2 points above Shrewsbury. Yeah, Cheltenham Town, by the way, are doing fine. They are fine. They beat Shrewsbury yesterday by 2-1 to push themselves into the top half of the League One table. Disappointing result for Salop, who won't be delighted by the defending on this particular occasion, but to see Cheltenham sitting in the top half of the table deserves a lot of credit. And I will say as well, congratulations to Charlie Raglan, friend of the pod, who's been on here, and just an all-round great guy. He's had twins, so enjoy that experience, Charlie, and find yourself some good shows on Netflix, because you're not going to be sleeping much. It's my advice. Right. So the final one was, for me, Accrington 2, Sheffield Wednesday 3. Sheffield Wednesday jumped into a 3-goal lead, and I thought, my goodness, what's going on here? But status quo, like the set of the Accrington comeback was there to see, and it wasn't quite as easy. And I thought this would be the case. Never easy place to go, Accrington. But nevertheless, Ed, that's only one defeat actually in 11 league games for Darren Moore. So I think the sort of Sheffield Wednesday meltdowns that I've seen about his performance as manager are well over the top. Well over the top.
Potentially. The problem is all the draws, isn't it? The fact they've been dropping so many points. They could be in such a strong position right now. And like you say, they are only just outside the playoff spots, which, to be honest, wouldn't be a good finish to Wednesday. You want them to be in those top 6 spots, and preferably they want to be challenging for promotion. So, yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's kind of like it's an unbeaten run, which looks positive, but the fact that you're dropping points makes it feel not as good as it probably should be.
I agree, but I would also say I think they've got some very sort of senior players out injured. You know, I was speaking to Sheffield Wednesday fan on Twitter yesterday, and they're basically saying they've got 7 players who genuinely could consider themselves first team starters are not able to play at the moment. So that would be like having a new team when they come back, and that's something to look out for. And also in January, genuinely, you think Sheffield Wednesday could draw some good talent. So, you know, these big sides can have very positive transfer windows. So that's why I wouldn't be too worried. And if you're not being beat, you know, that's also important. If you're hard to beat, it's easier then to get on a positive run than if you're a side that is you know, very poor defensively or something like that. But yes, a good win yesterday at Accrington. Didn't make it as easy as it probably could have been. But yeah, 3-2 win for Sheffield Wednesday up in Lancashire. And as the table looks, Plymouth are still top despite defeat yesterday. 36 points from 18 games played. Rotherham, they have 34 points from 17, so a game in hand, so they could go top if they win that. Wigan, obviously, his game against Oxford cancelled due to COVID in the Oxford camp. Crewe fans will be sniggering based on the history of that one. Wycombe, MK Dons and Sunderland are the teams in those playoff places. Sheffield Wednesday have played a couple of games more, but are only 2 points outside. Still a long way to go, though, to start sort of worrying about games in hand and stuff at this stage. Oxford 8th, Portsmouth 9th, Ipswich 10th, and Charlton, like I said, up to 11th. Charlton now 12th, Ed. That's much better, considering.
Much better.
Yeah, considering where they were. Lincoln and Doncaster, we didn't mention, they played out a 0-0 draw. And we'll talk a bit more about Lincoln, I think, in coming weeks. I still am not worried about them in any real sense. But I'm not
worried about him. I'm just a bit disappointed by him, to be honest.
Well, yes. Yeah.
Expect a little bit more from them, don't you, after last season?
I think there's a bit of a hangover, and I think there have been mitigating circumstances. But I still back them to be a stronger team than they are right now. But yeah, like you say, you can't ignore it. But a result they probably felt they should have done better with yesterday. The bottom 4 is Crewe, 12 points, so 5 points adrift, but a big win for them. Doncaster, that draw's put them on 13 points. Fleetwood and Shrewsbury, the other 2 teams in those relegation places, but Gillingham and Wimbledon, the 2 sides on 17 points just outside that have been struggling of late. Even Accrington, you know, they've dropped down to 17th, so something to keep an eye on. Right, Ed, let us jump down into the 4th tier and talk about what happened in League 2.
League 2.
I've got to talk about Exeter starting here, Ed, because a 2-1 win against Carlisle means they've gone 9 home games unbeaten to start the season. That's something to be celebrated.
It's massively celebrated. It's not just 9 unbeaten league games. I think their last league defeat was on the 14th of August. They just keep going. This long unbeaten run is going to lead them. It is leaving them in a really good position. It's going to continue to do so.
It's impressive. It's really impressive. And the thing that I like about Exeter as well is they've got a great depth and a really good quality in that squad.
Yeah, the depth's fantastic when you think about it. You know, you kind of see certainly the same attacking trident all the time with Matt Jay, Sam Nombre, Giovanni Brown. I think they made use of Josh Coley as well on the wing yesterday. And then a bit of solidity with people like Archie Collins, Timothy Dieng. They put Harry Kite in there. Nigel Garner's played in there. Like you say, the depth is fantastic in those midfield and forward areas. And even in defence as well. If they can go back 4 or back 3, it's completely up to them.
I do like to see Timothy Dieng having a sort of a renaissance after some really dark times at Southend. He's back from suspension yesterday. And, you know, he's a good player. And you forget, I think when you see him in a struggling team, you forget what he does offer. But he's been excellent for this team. They've got a great goalkeeper in Dawson. And they've got a good manager. I like Matt Taylor. You know, I really do like Matt Taylor.
Do I say it? Could this be the year? Ooh. Do I say it?
No.
Am I going to get in trouble saying that?
It's all right. Don't worry, Exeter fans. I shall.
I'm not giving them the tag. I'm not doing the tag. I'm not doing what you're doing with Walsall and giving them the tag.
I haven't given anyone a tag. What are you talking about? Walsall fans, don't panic. No, seriously, I haven't given you any tag. He wants to. He wants to do it. He wants to do it. But no, Exeter,
Oh, they look great. Really, really pleased how they look. They look an excellent team.
Excellent team and an excellent run they're on at home. Excellent run they're on just in general. A lot to like. Carlisle, Ed, not really improved under Keithman.
Opposite, to be honest.
Keithman and Scotland playing
Really
defensively better though, hasn't he? Like they what was it, 3 clean sheets prior to this match, but it's just still a real slog.
Real slog, and it's very concerning because other teams around them I think are looking better at the minute.
Yeah. Oh dear. Carlisle fans. How are you feeling, Carlisle fans? I mean, you know, from the hope that I had for this team based on what I saw from Chris Beech prior to that slump last season in sort of after Christmas, January time, I was really hoping they'd do well, and I thought, you know, I think our arguments in the pre-season pod, I sort of persuaded you guys to put them higher. It's looking just really sort of a bad take from me there. I did not see them struggling like this, though. I have to be honest. It's been really poor. Although, in fairness, at the time I think we recorded the pod, they did still have Tanner and Hayden, who are key defensive players. But yeah, it's been a real struggle. Zach Clough's pre-season, sort of brilliance shown pre-season. He's come into the side and he's had the injuries that we were worried about. And I don't know what Keith Millen does from here. You know, do I trust him to have a big January based on Holdsworth's history as director of football? Not really, to be honest. Worrying times. Especially when you consider that Oldham beat Port Vale in a bit of a smash and grab from the home side in this one. A 3-2 win. Sam Hart, great to see him
Chris
back.
Needs to stop coming on the pod because I'm pretty sure that means an Oldham win, doesn't it? It feels like they win when he's not here.
Well, they're sorted because I think he's off to Antarctica in sort of before Christmas, and he's going to be there until March. So Oldham will be in the playoff places by the time he comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, sorted. I don't want to take any credit for the Oldham win, but I was drinking tea from my lucky Oldham mug yesterday.
Right, okay.
Basically because I was too lazy to put the dishwasher on, and that was all I had left. But yeah, you can thank me later, Oldham fans. I'll take the credit for that. But in all seriousness, this is a side that has got strength in depth now that they just didn't have before, because Cisse was back in midfield. He lasted, I think, 55 minutes. Hopcutt was playing. And these players will be a bit slow to start with, but they'll get up to speed. And Sam Hart obviously made a very key contribution. So Port Vale, they should have, let's be honest, should not have lost this game based on the play. And they had about 1,900 fans in that Chaddy end who will be very disappointed. But, you know, 3 set pieces. Pierre Gianni shoved up front by Keith Curlin, a genius move to unsettle the defence, and he had a big part to play, I think, in the winner. And it worked. It unsettled them, and Darryl Clark will be fuming because he knows his side shouldn't have lost this game, and it was just like defensive naivety. But Nathan Smith was suspended, and, you know, as much as I like Aaron Martin, he is not as physical or as strong as Nathan Smith, who Tom Pope just described on our podcast as like the strongest player he's played against. So, you know, that could be sort of a key factor in those goals. But yeah, very big win for Oldham, which makes Carlisle's position even more worrying in some respects. Ed, I've got to take Leyton Orient. Am I right, do you think, in suggesting they probably have the best depth of attacking players in this division? Ooh, I've been thinking about this. I can't think of a team with much more depth. I know we talk about Exeter with that great trident, but the reason I like Leyton Orient is just they've just got so many options. They've got Dan Kemp, Aaron Dryden, Harry Smith, Theo Archibald, Raul Sitoru. You know, and these guys are all formidable players that can score goals, and they've even got like a slightly goal scoring right wing back in Tom James as well. But can't deny that they came to the fore yesterday and a cracking result.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something to cut your argument. Do you know what? I can't. I think I actually agree with you.
Oh, Paul Smith as well, or Smythe.
Yeah,
you know.
And this is a great result for Orient. It feels a very uncertain result as well. Them getting hammered by a 4-1 margin. It hasn't really been the way they go. Apparently, Sutton were quite dominant in the early stages as well, which maybe is a reflection more on how competitive the game was. But the Leyton Orient to run away with it is a brilliant result against what has been a very strong Sutton side so far.
Yeah, that's the other thing as well. This is not a result to be sniffed at. Sutton, you do not take them lightly. They don't lose games like this. Even at the start of the season when they struggled a little bit to get the first win on the board. They were very competitive in those games. They were unlucky to lose against Oldham, unlucky to lose the game at Forest Green where they matched them up. I mean, they're a good side, and frankly, a very impressive they clicked into another gear, Leyton Orient. So yeah,
what you can do with that line when you've got, Smith is huge, and I think he showed that with his first or his second goal. He kind of just gets above the goalkeeper with a head into an empty net. I love Theo Archibald and Tom James as a pair of wing backs. They're both so dynamic, so good going forwards. Archibald I've been a massive fan of since he was at Macclesfield Town, and he almost played alongside Emmanuel Osadebe, kind of an attacking midfield role, was just allowed to run at his man. And he seems to be really flourishing in this wing back role for Orient at the moment.
I look at the options that Leyton Orient have, and you've got Happy not in the team, Thompson back from injury on the bench, Paul Smith, who's had a frustrating season with injury, coming back to fitness. You've got Connor Wood, who was so consistent during his time at Bradford. He can't even get in the team now because Theo Archibald's been converted to a left wing back and is absolutely bossing it. Frustrating thing really is they've drawn recently too many games, and maybe that's, I don't want to just sort of say, that's Kenny Jackett football, because he sometimes is a bit too conservative. I know he likes not to lose any solidity, but they've got such great attacking depth. They've got like 5 or 6 players there that I think, can any other team match that for depth? I don't think they can, personally. You can argue maybe some teams have matching quality in the individuals, but not depth. I don't think anyone has the depth that Leyton Orient do. And the fact that Alex Mitchell, on loan from Millwall, has been so good since coming. He was at Bromley last season. Yeah. And Sadrach Ogie has come in and made the centre-back position his own, which, it's a huge credit. He's a young man, has done brilliantly. This is a very, very important time of the season for Leyton Orient. Very important win. Kind of a statement win. I know you wouldn't say that before, statement win against Sutton. It really is. I think that's a very, very good result.
Oh, I completely agree with that. Completely agree.
Vital win for Crawley as well, Ed, up at Barrow. Both teams were on a poor run, but Crawley came away with a 1-0 win. It's pretty massive, isn't it, really? Because I have been a bit concerned about Crawley in recent weeks.
Yeah, I think it was 4 straight league defeats prior to this win today. Crawley and Barrow both feel a bit mid-table to me. I don't know what it is about them. I don't feel the same level of encouragement.
Do you have any dread for either of them being dropped into that?
No, not really, because I think there are worse sides to them. And as we say with League 2, you can be bad and get away with it because there's only 2 relegation spots. And I don't think either of these teams are bad. They're just, there's teams better and teams worse than them.
Yeah, it was a 4-4-2 setup. Players, I mean, I'd be interested to say, I don't think we've really seen it this season yet from Crawley, like a fully fit 11. You could argue that's the same for a lot of sides, but they have had a pretty chronic time with injuries. So I would like to see what John Yems feels is his best team, see how they do with that. But a good win. They needed that. And 69 fans, huge credit to the 69 Crawley fans who went up to Barrow. Crawley are a team that will just geographically struggle, I think, to draw big crowds because they're very close to London, and they are the second team of a lot of season ticket holders from clubs in London. Woking have found this over the years a little bit as well, being close to London. That's why I think Woking have never, despite good support, managed to push on into the league. Obviously, Crawley managed that and have done well to stay there. But, 69 fans going all the way up to Barrow to watch them and get a win. Good rewards. Good rewards for them. Ed, Bristol Rovers have annoyed me in the week just gone.
That was a great game. That was a great game in the man.
I took my Oxford United glasses off to tweet that was a very, very impressive comeback. But God, inside was I annoyed to go out of the FA Cup to Joey Barton, Bristol Rovers team, after being no less 3-1 up with about 10 minutes to go in extra time. But it also highlighted to me why the FA Cup is such a magical knockout tournament. I mean, fantastic scenes at the end, massive bundle in front of the home end. It was great to see from a Rovers perspective. And like I said, you don't, unless you have character, you just don't do that. Oxford's defending, the less said about it, the better, frankly. But They then follow that with a 2-2 draw against a strong Tranmere team. Have your opinions about Bristol Rovers changed at all?
Yeah, I feel more positive about them, definitely. I think Barton's settled a bit more on his setup, particularly in attacking areas, making use of Anthony Evans and Sam Nicholson, who've found really good form, and Sean Spencer in a kind of attacking midfield role as well. A lot of praise coming out to people like Connor Taylor and Kean Harries at the back as well, who are looking very impressive. So, yeah, they seem better than certainly they were a few weeks ago.
Thoughts on Tranmere? Because they're a side, they feel like a side that should be doing better, frankly. But they're very hard to have a take on, because they go from runs of like being really good defensively and then scoring lots of goals. But are they good enough overall, do you think, to mix it up at the top of this level, or is their 11th position that they're in now more indicative of where they really are as a team?
Well, let me put it this way. There's two teams that have scored less goals than them so far, and that's Colchester and Carlisle, who are both down the bottom. There's just an issue with goal scoring still with this team. You know, I was delighted for Paul Glatzel to get that goal yesterday, to get the equaliser, but we need more from the forwards they have. And there are some forwards in here I think are okay, but I don't know if any of them I'd call standouts in this division.
Took a bit of a chance on Elliot Nevitt, didn't they? After his impressive sort of feats in non-league, and I'm glad that they gave him that new contract. I'm just having a look up really what their open play XG is, because I'd be interested to see that. Let's have a look on this. If you want to find all this stuff, guys, by the way, the Analyst, it's called, the website, but I think it's run by Opta. They do have really, really good free-to-use season metrics and stuff, so very much worth looking at. I mean, you won't be surprised there to find the open play XG. The worst team is Colchester. Bristol Rovers, interestingly, are second bottom of the open play XG.
Wow, okay.
I'm not sure it's updated from yesterday. Where does it say on here? Does it say where it's updated from yesterday? Last updated November 21st. Yeah, so it looks like it has been updated from yesterday. Anyway, but Tranmere there are only 4 teams with the worst XG from open play in the division. Funnily enough, Walsall are one, Oldham, Bristol Rovers and Colchester. They have a worse open play XG than Scunthorpe. That's not... And Carlisle, my goodness. Dear me, that's slightly worrying. And their set piece XG is actually pretty good, 6, and they've scored 5. So that's sort of propping them up a little bit. But yeah, goals the problem for Tranmere, and it feels weird saying that after a 2-2 draw away from home, because that's actually a decent point on the road for them.
Well, what was benefiting them at the start, as we've said before, was that absolutely insane defensive record, which we were told us was never going to last. And it has shown in recent games, I feel, that there is, you can't stay incredibly defensively solid forever, and you need to be able to find a net at the other end to get yourself into games.
Indeed. Big win for Mansfield as well yesterday, 3-1 win against Scunthorpe United. It's 5 in all competitions, 5 straight wins in all competitions for the Stags, 3 straight wins in the league. Dare I say it, the perennial underachievers, although they are still underachieving, they're finding a way to win again, Ed.
I just feel like 5 weeks from now you're going to come back and say the opposite. Yeah. There's just something about it. I don't know. It's good for Mansfield. I don't know really. Mansfield I can't judge anymore. I just don't know what they're going to do. I just struggle to have expectations, because whenever I put it on them, it just backfires.
Yeah, I know.
I just hate feeling confident about Mansfield Town anymore.
They always make us look silly when we say, this year will be different because they've got a good manager and a really good squad. Oh, it didn't make a difference. They finished just above the relegation zone again. Very strange. Very strange. Obviously, injuries, I think, have been one of the biggest factors this season in their poor run, especially to the defence. I mean,
injuries and suspensions, certainly.
Yeah, suspensions. God, discipline record, probably the worst in the league. Ollie Hawkins, though, has been really good since going. I mean, what a player to have. He's great up front, but really...
Well, it's weird.
Adept at centre-back.
Neither of the centre-backs yesterday were actual centre-backs, Toole and Hawkins. You've got a striker and a midfielder. Although that is very Nigel Clough to do that, I should say.
Working, though.
It is working at the minute, and Stephen Quinn the left wing, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's the second game in a row he's sort of played on that left-hand side. Sturt coming in sort of a central role. No Danny Johnson, who's out for a few weeks with an injury, so they've had Bowery going into the attack. And I was wondering whether they'd start Bowery or Sinclair, because Bowery was their main guy for most of last season, or played a lot more. He struggled to get in this side, but a 3-1 win against Scunthorpe under Keith Hill, who I think will find it a very, very difficult job to turn this lot around. Personally, we have talked about them quite extensively, but a draw in his first game and then a defeat here sort of does say that it's still going to be a big difficulty. Hartlepool lost back-to-back home games for the first time since December 2020. A 3-1 defeat to league leaders Forest Green. Jamie Sterry sent off to add salt into the wound. 3 straight defeats in the league for Hartlepool now, Ed, and they need a manager in pretty sharpish.
Yep, absolutely. I don't know who's on the list of me. I know apparently there was rumours of a response to the Bromley man. That never happened apparently, but they need someone in. And quickly. They do.
I mean, not surprised to see Forest Green win here. I just think Forest Green on their day still are a very, very good team. They haven't quite dominated as much, have they? Because they look like they might run away with it a little bit, but they haven't quite dominated as much. And I think we've seen some of their more fallible elements in recent weeks, especially with that defeat in the Cup, for example. But they're not really dropping away, like a couple of draws, perhaps, but they're not really dropping away in the league.
I don't think they've been top since they've gone top of the pile. I don't think anyone's taken off the top spot yet.
Is there any team you can see chasing them down? I wonder if what...
Exeter.
Yeah, that was the other one I was about to say. Exeter, probably for me. Anyone else? Do you fancy anyone else in this league to challenge?
With a bit more consistency, Orient, definitely.
And if Swindon get another striker in January.
If Swindon get another striker, but I like Port Vale as a complete unit as well. I think they're fantastic when they're asked the best as well. It's a really good promotion battle we've got here.
It is. It's interesting. And you talk about Swindon in a strike. I mean, Swindon went to Newport yesterday. That was a very big win, I think, given James Robury's side's form. Was it like Jackie Payne with 2 minutes to go that they won it? Dom Telford, his goal record is ridiculous. I think it's 12 and 13 in all competitions. 11 in 10 league games, is that right?
I believe so. He's top scorer at the moment, one ahead of Matt J. I wonder if he could get the golden boot, because I think I said this last week, that the League 2 goal scorer in the last 2 seasons has kind of emerged where we weren't expecting it.
It does beg the question why he wasn't being played more regularly under Mike Flynn.
It does. I've always felt that Telford's a front 2 player rather than the front 1. You don't want him to be the lone focal point up top. You play alongside someone else, like they do with Baker Richardson. They really get the best out of him.
Yeah, they are indeed. But yeah, very impressed for Dom Telford, and the fact that he was struggling, and at one point I think it was suggested that he might be moved on. And if I'm right in remembering, didn't he say he didn't want to go? He wanted to stay and fight for his place at Newport. Am I right in remembering that that's what he said, rather than go elsewhere or get?
I don't recall that being said, but it may well be true.
Might be. I might be getting it wrong. Newport fans will know for sure. But really impressive form that he's in. Not so impressive form from Harrogate, who lost 2-0 to Salford yesterday. They're starting, Ed, to show the sort of fallibility that we expected. Often don't even put out a full bench because they do have a very small squad.
They don't ever put out a full bench.
I think with
they do 6 subs normally, which I've not quite got why.
Well, they don't have the players, I think. And really, I mean, they could put some youth players in, but with McArdle and Will Smith long-term injured, that's really it. They don't have anyone else, which is strange.
Well, there's some like you say, there's youngsters to add in, which they did yesterday with Amila Sanmi, who's a young striker, but yeah,
weird. But they lost. Salford got a win, which don't know, might stay of execution for their manager. Steve Evans' Stevenage beat Colchester. Oh, sorry, it's not happened yet. Stevenage beat Colchester 1-0. 600 Colchester fans watching their side yet again not pull off any good performance, really. I mean, I'm very worried about Colchester, if I'm honest. If I look at that, I still look at the data and think, what is going on here? Fans not particularly happy as well for many reasons with the setup and the attendance have been poor and stuff at home. But big win for Stevenage, Ed. Do you think it will be Steve Evans that takes over?
Wouldn't surprise me if it was. I'm not 100% certain it will be, but I don't know with that. It would worry me more. I think it would be, if it did happen, I think it would be an okay appointment. I'm not a Steve Evans fan. I think most people are, to be honest. I'm not a fan of his character, but I think it'd be a pretty decent appointment to Stevenage, and it would be a really, really bad situation to Gillingham. They need to keep hold of him as much as possible.
Yeah, you don't want to be losing your manager in that circumstance, especially like you say, like moving to relegation, a team in relegation fights in a division below. It doesn't scream good things about your club, does it? When your manager's poached by a team basically, what would it be 24 places below you in the league ladder?
Pretty much.
Yeah, not good. Bradford and Northampton drew 1-1. Decent result for Northampton on the road. Who again, another team that, I don't know, a decent January maybe they could do something. I do like John Brady. I do like what he's done there, but not entirely convinced by Bradford as of yet. I think it's been a bit of a struggle under Derek Adams. I don't know what you think of them overall, Ed, but I'm thinking there are better teams than them in this division at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel a little bit uninspired by them. They seem really vulnerable and incapable of keeping clean sheets on a consistent basis, which is really holding them back.
And Walsall drew 0-0 with Rochdale, the only 0-0 in the division this weekend. Right. Before we go, Ed, let's do a bit of a game, a little preemptive game here, because every single Sunday someone sacks a manager and we miss it. So I haven't got any music, but I was going to get right, Ed. It's a game of who will be sacked this week, or who will be sacked this afternoon for most people.
Can I ditch the sacking and go with a departure?
Yeah. Go.
And just say Steve Evans.
Oh, you've taken.
Can I go with that?
Okay. So Steve Evans, Ed, has been appointed Stevenage manager, leaving Gillingham. We'll give our take on that properly next week. But yes, preempting the inevitable. Right, who am I going to pick now? You've taken my choice away. Let's see.
That was the obvious choice, wasn't it?
It was the obvious choice. Who's going to lose their job? It's too early for Keith Hill. Gosh, it's actually quite difficult to pick another manager who's going to get the sack.
I think we might be all right this week. I think we might go without anyone changing.
Oh, it just seems like the weekly merry-go-round happens every Sunday. If I don't think it's going to happen, but outside shout, Mark Cooper leaves Barrow. Can't see it happening.
No, I can't either.
Ryan Lowe, because they're on a one-game losing streak. Plymouth Argyle, panic, get rid of him. No, I think you've taken the obvious choice, to be fair. And
we'll see what happens with that. We'll see.
But there you go. So we've preempted it this week. Anyway, enough silliness from us. Ed, you've done really well, mate. It's been a nice, intimate little duo on this pod this week. I can take my candle table away now.
Where you go with this?
Yeah. But yeah, no, Ed, great to have you on. Thanks for your opinions as always.
Pleasure to be involved, James.
And guys, thanks for listening and taking time to basically put up with our ramblings. We will be back with a full complement, I dare say, next week, hopefully. And that means if Chris is back, that Oldham will lose. So if anyone wants to kidnap Chris Stringer, just DM me for his address, and we'll get that sorted. And then Oldham, like I say. But don't worry, he is going away to the South Pole for ages, so it's looking good for Oldham for the rest of the season. But until next week, anyway, we'll see you soon. Goodbye.